Hi, it's just such a beautiful day today. I thought I'd take a little wander around the garden. So let's go. I have flowers too, not many because of my cheeky puggles. Hi Rosie. Hi Rosie. Good morning. Yep, they've destroyed a fair amount, and I've also removed a fair amount because when they were young, a lot of plants are toxic to dogs, so in their best interest, my garden suffered. As you can see, I use a lot of wood chips around the property, um, mostly because of mud in the dogs area. It keeps the mud from the house, but it's due for another lot, and my son has promised me that he would help me to spread the wood chips, so as soon as I get a hold of a truckload, and that's quite a few wood chips, we'll be getting busy. So what do we have here? We have my on the swing. We have the quince tree, and it's looking a little bit haggard, but it's grown quite a bit. It's probably grown half a metre in height, which is pretty good, and I've caged it up to keep the rascals away, and yes, they did pinch every last quince on the tree. Naughty puggles. Well, the plum tree has shot up. It seems the more that I prune it, the more it grows, but those long twiggy branches there, they're going to be coming off, and it split at some point. You can see, hopefully you can see a big hole in the trunk where the old branch was. So all trees now that I get my hands on, if they end up with a V near the base of the trunk, I cut it off, and that one needs a bit of a trim starting to grow back. But this tree survived, even with a huge branch having fallen off it or having split. And what's next to the tree, you're probably wondering? Well, sadly, that's the grave of my last little poor baby. My little Foxy's buried under there, and my two puggles dig. So I've put a huge amount of wood on top of her grave to keep them out. Might sound funny, but anyway, that's the logic behind my madness. Yes, we do have a rather large water tank. It's only meant for the garden, so we don't use any of it in the house. It holds, how much does it hold? 9,000 litres, I think. So once we get to the new property, we will certainly be having two tanks, one for the garden and one for the house for toilets and probably washing of clothes and such things. And so the new tanks will be quite a bit bigger than this one. At the back of the yard, this is just a very small part of the garden that I look at from the kitchen, and yes, there's more wood chips. I love my wood chips, and they do help. I've hardly had to water out here all summer, although it has been a wet summer. The lemon tree back there, not a lemon in sight, but it has a lot of new baby ones coming along, which is always good. I swear this plant has grown another half a foot since I last filmed it. We still don't know what it is, so anybody can help me. Put your answers in the comments, and I would really appreciate knowing what this beast of a plant is. Thank you. Yes, the apple's still there, although my little puggle just now tried to swipe it. I can't wait to taste this apple. As I said, we have a very limited variety available to us in the stores. You can go out to the apple farms and buy different varieties, but in the store, you're really restricted. So I'm hoping in the next few days that this apple will be ready to eat. I still have this rosemary. The one out the front has gone to plant heaven. So this one's quite good because it's on the balcony. Not the balcony, the deck. So close to the barbecue if I wish to use any of it. There's my little pot of oregano, and it is also close to the barbecue, so I can just swipe a few leaves and use them. The lights, why are the lights in there? No reason, just probably to keep them away from the dogs. Sorry guys, you can't come out the front. These two would just take off. There would be no getting them back. So they're restricted to the backyard. So what's this, you might be wondering? Well, it was my rose. Every day between this rose and a pot, and I didn't want to move the pot, there was a spider web, and every day I forgot about it, and every day I walked into it. So I've given this rose, I think it's called Pinky. It actually is quite a really pretty flower. A good haircut. It'll come back. I'm going to pull it out of the ground and probably plant it on the new property. And behind it, I managed to grow some garlic, and I will be replanting those soon, I guess. I don't know when you plant garlic, but I'll just shove it in, and I'm sure I'll get some more. Here's my cucumber plants. I have eaten probably 24 cucumbers and given away as many. So they're just hanging there in all their glory, getting bigger and bigger. They have to come off. There's a beauty in there. Look at that. And these were all grown from seed, from very old seeds, and they still managed to grow. Yeah, over there I've got the carrots. I have eaten a few, but they're still quite small, so we'll just let them fatten up a little bit. Rightio, you can see where I have to walk through. This is a really tiny garden. Okay, you might remember that I did a kitchen garden in a large planter, and I'd put tree bark and logs into the pot. And what I've got growing in there, what's actually growing quite well in this pot, are the tomatoes. Although we haven't had many tomatoes this year. It's been dismal because the weather in my part of Australia has been extremely cold to what it should be over the summer, and wet. So the plants have gotten sick. But for some reason this one is doing quite well. And in amongst down there, there's a few herbs. You can't see them, but the herbs are still in there, chives, things like that. Well, this is the second kitchen garden I did, and it's not doing too well. That little dead clump there, that's the dill, and I think they're garlic chives. Eggplant not doing well. It's growing, but doing nothing. And the tomatoes. These tomatoes were planted at the same time as the other ones, and they're looking pretty sick. So what do we got here in the other pot? Capsicum. Baby capsicums, they're not big ones. And I had them in the hothouse over the winter and brought them out here. And I got quite a few off. And this is the other tomato, same age as all the others. It's given us a few, but this is what's happened to tomatoes in my part of the world. Not happy. And what we have here are round cucumbers. What do you call those ones? Those old-fashioned variety. Heritage. Right, let's see if I can find one. There we go. Where are you? There we go. There's a nice big fat one. And there's lots and lots of flowers on there. I think there's about 6 or 7 plants There's another one hiding there. They're all coming along now, and I'm really hoping that they're not bitter. So the little cucumbers are creeping around on the trellis, and hopefully there'll be enough to do something with. Strawberries, bad news this year, not one strawberry. Lots of leaves, and no, I haven't fed them like crazy, but no strawberries. Maybe we'll get some over the autumn. And what do we have here? I'm growing weeds. No idea what this thing's called, but I have found out that you can eat it. And I actually pulled it up out of the pathway and stuck it in here, and it survived. And there's a baby one. So I'm going to try and get this thing established and get a lot more growing. And I had a taste of it, and it tastes citrusy. It's really nice. So if you see this weed in your garden, eat it. And it is a superfood, considered a superfood. My figs have done quite well, and I've managed to eat a few of them. This one's kind of weird. It's got nothing on the middle branch, and then as you get to the end, all the leaves are there. So I'm not too sure what to do there. I might clip the end of it and get it a little bit more bushy. And I've got another one here. Where are you? This is breakfast. That's going to be my breakfast. So I'll pick that after. And this plant is a cutting from my sister's fig trees. She gave me two. They're next to each other there. And they have grown massively this season. So they will be staying in pots because I think they get quite big. And I don't want big trees. And what we have here, we have some wild strawberries. They're only just starting to produce now, and in the centre I've got a sage. It has a little red flower, and the birds in the autumn, when it really starts to flower, they love it. Sage in a pot, doing okay. I managed to keep it alive. I haven't drowned it and killed it. And the orange trees. This is the smallest one. I think I have 3 of the 3, and this one dropped all its fruit. But it doesn't matter because the one next to it, for some reason, hope you can see it, is covered in lots of oranges, and hopefully they will be nice and juicy and not dry and horrible like the last lot. So this tree is probably 10 foot tall, so it's well on its way. There's my bay leaf, and this thing's doing really well too. I'm not watering it too much, and I've got the rocks underneath it for heat, so it's coming with me to the new property, and we'll thoroughly enjoy having that there. And here we have a geranium, and this particular geranium are dry in the dehydrator, and I make tea, and it's really very nice. Alright, this is my 3rd orange tree. It's not too bad. It's getting a lot of new growth on it. It dropped a lot of its fruit, which I was a bit sad about because it had an awful lot of fruit on it. But anyway, there's still quite a few oranges there, and they should be ready for us in the winter time when we need them the most. So why do I have an old wheelbarrow there? For rust, because citrus trees love rust. So you have to put metal filings, or what do you call that stuff? They're using concrete. Shove a few lengths of that in, and I used my old wheelbarrow. I've just sort of half buried it. Well, the almond tree was raided by the cockatoos. They took every last one, but it has grown. It's probably 2.5 meters tall. Doing very well. I'm not sure if I can dig that one up, but we'll give it a go when the time comes. And there's another geranium, which is there to confuse the bugs. Geraniums are great for that. Stick a few of those around the property and your bugs will not know what to attack. This is my garden bed. It has some carrots in it, some woeful beans. Beans didn't do well at all. It doesn't matter, I just need to get one or two off there and I'll save the seed and try again. And we're coming over to the nectarine tree, which has been a right pain in the backside. It grew and grew and grew after I'd pruned it, and I've left a little bit on one side for shade in the bedroom, and I won't cut that, I'll just prune the top branches off. But these branches here, you can see, and that one, we've completely cut back. We've just left the branch which will be coming off as soon as I get the saw out. And that one has also been cut back. And why? Because a couple of years ago the tree split. That's where it split, and it was a rather large branch. So all these branches coming off the main trunk are going. There's another clump of comfrey. I've got two up in the other garden where the apple tree was. Oh, there's more than two. There's probably 6 or 7, which I cut back and I'll chop and drop it around the garden because the leaves are full of nutrients that the garden needs, and that's why we grow it. And I will be growing a lot more. Rhubarb, kind of hanging in there. More tomatoes. These tomatoes, I'm creeping up a frame, and they've given me a little bit. There's a few green ones on there, which will ripen. So these wire frames are a great idea. Just get wire mesh, join it up, a couple of poles, and put it around your plants, and then weave them through the mesh, and it works very well. Well, these strawberries, well, they got sick. They became covered in these white flies, and the plants completely collapsed. So I cut it right back about 2 weeks ago, and they're coming good. What else have we got there? Yes, there's four pots, and they're starting to look like they're going to give us something. Well, a snack anyway. And these things, I don't know what they're called, a type of onion, spring onion, and I like the little bulbs. You chop those up and put them in your food, or you can plant them, and they taste great. So there's a zucchini hiding back there. Probably won't get much off that because it's getting late in the season. And yes, I use the wood chips all around the front yard. I also have a watering system buried around the place, which helps when it gets really dry. So the entire front yard is under wood chips. My little passion fruit, Ned Kelly, is climbing. Hope it gives us some fruit next year. The raspberries will get a bit of a haircut soon. They didn't do too bad this year. It's another variety of apple. I think it's a Jonathan, but a Jonathan on a column tree, and it's become a gnarly old tree. It's getting quite big now. Yeah, I'll probably take that one with me too. I think it'll be easy to dig up. And these pretty yellow flowers I have let self-seed. I don't know the name of them, but where's the seeds? There we go. We just chuck those around the yard. Plenty of them. And they're really nice. They're good for the bees. And I think they're here to confuse the bugs. I'm pretty sure that's why I planted them. Grapes, all gone. Every last one of them. The bats came and helped themselves. Alright, what you see on the ground there is the nectarine tree. We shredded it and we chucked it all over the ground. Hubby helped me with that one. And what I do with my roses now, I pinch the flowers off. I deadhead them, just the flowers, and I chuck them around the base because it makes sense. That becomes food. And we're heading into autumn now, and this one is quite pretty, and it will flower again and give me another nice show. And here we have my straggly old nectarine tree, but he is covered. Lots of fruit for its size. I get a huge amount of fruit from this little tree. So that one will be definitely coming with us. But we won't be digging it up yet because it's quite small, and the citrus trees are fairly easy to dig up. So the root balls aren't terribly big. Look at all my lovely fruit. And I think the fruit will be safe from the bats because they didn't touch it last year. So we have zucchini, which I had in a cage. I had it in that cage there, and it was miserable. So I took the cage away, and it's hanging down the edge of the planter, and all the fruit's down the bottom. I don't know if you can see it, because I think there it is, and it's given me quite a bit. So anyway, we'll just let it grow. So there's a tip: don't stick a zucchini plant into a cage, they don't like it. Tomatoes, little cherry tomatoes, didn't do too bad. I got quite a few off this particular plant, and these all came out of the same punnet as the ones in the kitchen garden, the 6 straggly ones I showed you. And this particular ones here have done okay. So I get about 20 tomatoes off it every couple of days, just enough to snack on. And in the background, some beans. I had them growing on a trellis type thing, but they didn't do well at all. So we'll try another variety next year. And behind it, I planted a few beetroots. So they look like they're growing. We'll just leave those. There might be half a dozen back there. And there's my little hothouse in the distance, and a trellis that we put up, and I grew a huge amount of pumpkin on that last year. So much that I had 3 that I ended up throwing out because they went rotten. Probably were about 10 altogether that I kept, and the rest I gave away. So what do we have here? We have, what do we call that stuff? Lavender. There's the mama plant, and I've found 2 babies, so I'll be digging those up and potting them. Okay, well, you might have seen in a previous video that I did a core bed video, and this is one of the core gardens, or the core beds. It's in the base of this raised bed are logs and tree prunings and a bit of green as well, and then we piled the dirt on top. And the garden in this particular one is doing pretty good. Another pretty rose. I just adore this one, and I will be definitely digging this one up and taking it with me. So whoever buys this house, you're not going to have much of a garden because most of it is coming with me. And around here, I'll turn slowly. Sad looking tomato that was meant to be to the top of that cage, and it hasn't done it. But anyway, doesn't matter. We'll have better luck next year. And this is my other core garden, which I had put on top of my hugelkultur because the very top of the hugelkultur in this garden was useless. The core garden itself is doing very well. Don't look at the beans, they weren't happy because they were shaded by the nectarine tree. But the carrots, there's quite a few carrots in there, and they're actually going to seed, which is okay. They're doing pretty good, and we've eaten quite a few of them, and believe me, they taste absolutely fabulous. Right, last few strawberries. No fruit. A little bit of fruit. Might be getting lucky now. And this little beauty is my other nectarine tree. And it is heavily loaded with fruit. So I've had to, I don't know if you can see it, but I've had to tie up the branches to give them a bit of support. There we go. I've tied them all to each other in the hope that they won't split further down. And this thing, it must have 100, maybe 200 fruits on it. And they are beautiful mandarins. There's no pips. Very, very sweet. There we go. You get some idea of how tiny my garden is and how packed everything is. That's a little path I have to walk down to get to the hothouse. Rightio. That's the overall view. There's another core bed there, the one that had the cucumbers in it. And you can see how tightly packed everything is. That's probably why I have a bit of trouble growing things, because I've got too much in there. But it's really quite good too, because it's all coming with me, except for the nectarine tree. There's another column apple. I think that's a Granny Smith. And it had a ton of apples on it, but the birds got it. I'm going to have to net the trees, I think. Right, in the shade there, you can see another apple tree. It's a medium-sized one. I don't think it'll get much bigger than what it is. That's why I bought it. And it had a ton of apples on it. But the birds also helped themselves. They left a couple. But they're not looking too good. Right, sorry about the chainsaw in the background. I don't know what he's cutting. Hopefully it's a dead tree that's overhanging my property. That little apple tree I was just talking about, that's called Pinky. So I guess the apples turn pink. And this beauty, there's some flowers, is a grevillea. And the parrots and local birds and bees love it. And I've pruned all the bottom branches off so that my trees don't end up too shaded. It's early morning here, so the garden's pretty much in shade for another hour, and then we'll have full sun. Well, this was going to be part of my breakfast. I think I'll still eat it. I'll cut off the bit where those birds got into. Anyway, the bottler signing off, and I hope you like the new name on my channel. I've added She's a Bottler Gardens and Preserves, and that gives you a better idea of what my channel's about. And you can visit me on my page, She's a Bottler, and it would be wonderful if you could click the like button and subscribe. It costs nothing to subscribe. And if you want notifications, I have worked out that the little bell, if you tap that, then you will get notifications. And if you don't want to be bothered by notifications, don't tap the bell. Thank you. Bye.